Welcome, Illumineers and fans of the happiest card game on earth. My name's John T, and you're in the Inkwell. And this is Spicy or Trash. This is our irreverent take on the set review. Over the next 6 days, we're going to be taking a deep dive into each colour of ink in the first chapter of Disney's Lorcana. And we're going to be telling you which cards are playable and which cards fit better in a binder. In each episode, I'm going to be joined by a fellow content creator and friend, and it's going to be my job to get them to shoot from the hip, tell us how they really feel about the cards in this game. There's no room for nuance. They have 4 options. Each card can either be spicy, solid, mid, or trash. Let's see how they get on. Today, we're talking about Amethyst, the colour of card value and deck development. So I asked Lorcana's mystical mentor, Spencer, also known as Sneaky Buffalo, to help me out. Spencer, aka Sneaky Buffalo, you can find him all the time over on the Glimmer Gang podlast. This is we're getting into the thick of these now, buddy. Thank you so much for joining me. You have Amethyst. Was it one you picked? I forget now. Did you pick Amethyst, or was it what was left?
I mean, it was the colors I would have picked were taken, so it was a little bit of a conciliatory color, but I did have options, okay. So I did pick it.
Best of a bad bunch, then. Is there anything in particular that jumps out of you for Amethyst as like the strengths of the color, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, I have to pick it just because, I'm from the New Orleans area, and it's got all the DrFacilier cards, so, I've got a rep.
Yeah.
But as far as the color itself, it's a great support color. There's a lot of places that you can mix and max it with other colors in order to support what it is that they want to do, because it has a lot of, draw and various other things that can just, really take other strategies to the next level.
Yeah, it is definitely the card draw color that we will see as we start diving into these. We start off with a 4-costed inkable 2/4 for 2 Anna with the ability Loving Heart. When you play this character, if you have a character named Elsa in play, choose an opposing character. That chosen character doesn't ready at the start of the next turn. That's a whole lot of text for very little. What do we think about Anna?
I'm gonna go with I'm in between mid and solid here. I'm gonna go with mid, just because her stat values are consistent with a vanilla 4 cost. What she's got that little extra spice if she's included in an Elsa deck, but if she's not an Elsa deck, there's not really any reason to take her.
Yeah,
so.
I suppose as long as with anything like this with an ability, as long as the ability doesn't detract from the base stats and therefore make it worse than just what the vanilla would be, then you have to judge it at worst as a vanilla, right? I personally am not a fan of anything that names another character specifically, apart from Flotsam and Jetsam, because I feel like that's just what they're going to do, and we're going to end up with like 30 Flotsams and 30 Jetsams that we can smash together into a deck. But yeah, a lot of these ones where they're looking for another character, I'm not a huge fan. It's not quite as bad as ones that seem to be looking for another character on your opponent's board, which I think are even worse, like some of the Moana stuff. But yeah, I'm mid. We say mid.
Yeah,
mid for Anna. A middling star. Archimedes, a 1-costed 2/2 for 1.
I mean, it's just the straight baseline for a vanilla, so mid.
Yeah, it's mid. Interestingly, with this cycle, and I think it's probably one of the few full cycles we have in the game, right? There is a king in every colour, but other than that, I think this is like the one true cycle. A couple of colours do seem a little better because their colour cares a bit more about them. And I think Archimedes might be one of those. I think Stitch New Dog is the other one. But yeah, mid. It takes a lot for a vanilla not to be mid, I think. A 1-costed inkable action befuddle. Return a character or item with cost 2 or less to their player's hand.
I think I might go with trash on this one.
All right, 3. There we go. We're recording how many it takes to get to one.
It's just so specific, and if you're returning something that costs 2 to your opponent's hand, like it's not that big of a tempo play. Like it's not enough value to go on a deck for me. I can't think of any 2-drop that I'm that worried about to play this. Obviously, some people are saying that it could see play in an items deck, bouncing your own item back to get the recast on the item. But I still don't think it's worth it for that, honestly. I'd rather just play another 1-drop item instead. The fact that it does target items is like nice, I guess, just because there's only 2 other cards in the game that target items, but you know.
Yeah, I guess outside of Steel, this is it for item removal, right? 7-costed, uninkable, 5/4 for 3, DrFacilier. This is the shift version, and he has the ability into the shadows whenever one of your other characters is banished in a challenge. You may return that card to your hand.
I mean, insta spicy on this one.
Super spicy, from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, so spicy on this card. It just opens up so many lines of play and allows you to just out-tempo your opponent, and there's so many different decks and different ways you can build around this card, and it's one of the few cards in Amethyst that is I would call a build around card.
Yeah. Like you said before, Amethyst is very much a support color, I think, but this is something you could quite happily move up towards in the top end of a deck. A lot of people will get onto Mickey Mouse later, the sorcerer, and they're always like, "Oh, it'd be so good if we had a few more brooms." This is that card, right?
Yeah.
Like this is just everything's a broom.
Everything's a broom.
And then he's a shift version, so obviously we need some stuff to shift him onto. First of all, a 2-costed Inkable 0/4 for 1 with Challenger 2.
I mean, just based off himself, like, it's fairly mid. Like, his high willpower gives him some useful situations where you can just quest with him safely, and then having that Challenger lets him, threaten some things as well. So he's good, but he's nothing to get too excited about.
Yeah, he's picking off any of the 2/2s really, and that's about it. Does he get better knowing there's a good Floodborn in his color?
Yeah, of course.
But not enough to push him into solid?
We'll save solid for the next one.
There we go. Perfect. What a segue. You're a pro at this, buddy. A 3-costed Inkable 2/4. For 1 lore. Dreams Made Real. Whenever you play a song, you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Describe basically, but one on the top of your deck and one on the bottom. This is strong. This is the one you want to be shifting onto then.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the one you want to shift onto is the Baby Facilier, because you still want this one's effect. But
okay.
If you have no other option, then yeah, you'll shift onto this one. Yeah, it's just really good. It's filtering. It adds consistency to your deck, especially, there's a couple of high value songs in every single color. The big one for Amethyst is obviously Friends on the Other Side, that we'll talk about later. And it just pairs so well with that. It's kind of unfortunate the way the ruling works out and the timing on it.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a numbo,
but
with the timing.
Yeah. But even then, it's still super valuable.
Lovely. 4-costed 4/4 for 1 in Elsa Queen Regent.
Side of an Elsa deck, straight trash.
Oh, okay, we're going for it. That's might be the first trash vanilla we've had. No, it isn't. No, we've had a few. Yeah, just because the stat line's not there, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like there's just so many better 4 costs, and like there's so many like 3/4 with 2 lures, and like
yeah,
there's just so many better options.
Yeah, the opportunity cost of she just doesn't find a way into the deck, I suppose. Yeah, we're thick into the run of Elsas then. This was the OG one, the 3-costed Inkable 2/3 for 1 lore Elsa Snow Queen, and you can exert her to exert something else.
I would have said mid prior to the full release, but now I'm going to move her up into solid because we've seen some things that interact with her ability a little bit more that we can take advantage of it. So I'm put her at solid.
I think, yeah, I agree. I one thing I find interesting about her is that she's genuinely like just done this in usability as more and stuff has come out, and then it's dropped down a little bit and it's come back up, and I think now we have the full set, we can really appreciate how important it is sometimes just to be able to get something off the table using her ability, right?
Or just stun it, through various other means.
8-costed uninkable 4/6 for 3 Elsa Spirit of Winter. She's a shift 6, and she has the ability Deep Freeze, even more than freeze, Deep Freeze. When you play this character, exerts up to 2 chosen characters, and they do not ready at the start of their next turn.
Yeah, so this is another one that just is super spicy. Just being able to just stun out your opponent's, make their characters either open up for challenge or to where they just can't quest next turn, and they're still exerted, so you can come at them with whatever you put down this turn to deal with them. Is really, really good. It's weak to ward, which we don't see a ton at the moment, outside of like Aurora Dreaming Guardian shenanigans, but so yeah, it's flexible, it's fun. You can build a whole deck around her. Spicy.
I completely agree. Super spicy. A couple of things I think are really interesting about her. Yeah, you're right. Ward isn't seen that much, and I think Aurora's the only one that gives it to other stuff. I think because of how strong it would be if there was more of it. I think it would just become one of the few things you have to play. The other thing I think with Elsa Spirit of Winter, I think she's going to be the most expensive single on the market, just because she's a solid card, very playable, but also Elsa, huge character, highest rarity, so we're going to see less of them. Will probably look great in foil. I can see this being the chase card of the set, just because it's all of those things mashed together into a very wantable card.
Yeah, I think right now it's really a toss up between her and Belle, and that's just I think that's just going to depend on like the meta and how it shakes out.
I think so, but like I say, I also think that just like princesses and Mickey Mouse are just going to be even more wanted, because I do feel like this game is going to shift a little bit more towards the Pokemon model, in that there's probably going to be a lot of people just want the cards who aren't actually playing. So you get a card that's very playable and then has a big character on it. I think it's like a double whammy, and it's just going to be really hard work to get hold of these. 5-costed Uninkable 3/4 for 2. Flotsam, he has Rush, and he gives Jetsams Rush.
I'm going with mid on these, because just for one simple reason, they're very expensive for what they do. For their stats, they're basically one above where any other comparable stuff is, because they share, and I'm talking about Jetsam and Flotsam together, because they share that aura, or whatever you would call it. So in future sets, once, like you were talking about earlier, once we see more of them, and maybe you can do like a whole like Ursula, Jetsam, Flotsam themed deck, then having that whole sliver type mentality would be really cool.
It maybe isn't what they're looking at all, but as soon as I saw them, the first thing I was like, oh my god, this is going to be slivers. Like, it might take 2 years, it might take 10 years, but one day we'll be able to do a deck.
They look like slivers, sort of.
They do. They could pass for slivers. All right, well, we'll put these ones together. We're saying mid. Does one of them edge it?
The 5-cost one, I don't remember which one's which, just because he's got 2 lore.
Yeah.
And evasive, right? That's the evasive one?
No, he has Rush. So he's the Rush one. Which is a little odd as well, that the more expensive one has the Rush. Because ideally the curve would be...
Yeah, ideally it would be flipped the other way around, so you could drop the lower cost one and then rush in with the higher cost one. Yeah, that's one of the other reasons I'm putting them at mid, is just because they've got that little bit discontinuity. But yeah.
I wonder if that was an active, like an active decision. I wonder if at one point it was the other way around and it was just a bit too good.
It was just too much.
Maybe. 2-costed Unlinkable action, exert chosen opposing character in freeze. So this is Elsa Snow Queen's ability, just as an action.
This one's uninkable, right?
It is uninkable, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you have Elsa in the deck, you don't take it. If you don't have Elsa in the deck, then it might be worthwhile, depending on how you're building out the rest of your deck and if it has like on banish type stuff. But just because it's uninkable, I'm going with mid.
I think, I'd agree with that one. It's a tricky one, that. Some stuff you can really see why it's uninkable. I can't really with that. I think that's a perfectly acceptable thing to happen for 2 ink. I don't know why that had to be hampered with the uninkable, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the cards like Stampede exist.
Yeah, Freeze gets a little bit of a pass when Stampede is there. Yeah, but talking of a good action, 3-costed Inkable action Song, Friends on the Other Side, draw 2.
Obviously solid.
Yeah,
like it's pot of greed.
It's part. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I'd verge on spicy with it. Really, just like it's not a bomb. It's not winning the game, but there's nothing else close to it in the set as far as card draw goes.
I'll 100% back that this is the baseline for card draw in the game.
Yeah. 4-costed Inkable 0/5 for 2. Jafar, Keeper of Secrets, Hidden Wonders. This character gets +1 to its strength for each card in your hand.
This is going to sound crazy, but I'm going with spicy for this card.
Oh, I was not expecting that at all.
I know, right?
Explain yourself.
not because I think it is particularly good. I just really like how the fact that it is dynamically looking at your hand size, that it creates different decision trees and sequences and lines of play. And I just find that the fact that it changes the way you play the game spicy. So like some crazy stuff I've been thinking about with it is like, we talked about DrFacilier earlier. And so like you've got a board, your opponent quests out some stuff, they think it's safe or that you're gonna have to like invest like your whole board into it, but then you throw down a DrFacilier challenge with your other stuff, it bounces back into your hand, and now your Jafar gets bigger. And no, the Jafar's already on the board.
Already out.
And then Jafar gets bigger, and they didn't expect that because of that hand, the bouncing back into the hand, and the Jafar can go into something, or and it changes like the way you have to think about it. Like you draw your card and say, okay, cool. Do I need to do stuff with Jafar before I start playing my cards? And it just changes up the sequence of the game a little bit. And I think that little extra bit of spice is fun.
Okay.
So, I think it's fun.
You've perhaps turned me around. I think what's interesting is a lot of this game, because of the lack of instant interaction and just how the game plays in general. I think a lot of that stuff can be quite telegraphed. So but still, I think it's really interesting because I think it's an interesting direction, and I think we will. You can say this about a lot of cards, honestly, but I think it's one of those ones that's going to get better the more we see from future sets. Because at the moment, this is pretty much the only card I think that cares about hand size. And that's not going to stay that way, right? So I definitely think we're going to go, and I genuinely think possibly the best art in the set as well. I think it's an incredible piece of art.
It's up there, yeah, for sure.
Compared to
poor camel,
poor camel for scale.
What did it do?
I know. Do you want to hear what he's been saying about Jafar's mum? Four-costed Inkable 2/5 for 1. This is the other Jafar Challenger 3. So he's a 5/5 on the offensive.
Like, I don't think it's like trashed here because it's got a place, especially if it's just holding like a spot for the other Jafar. But yeah, I mean, it hits above its pay grade, which is nice when it challenges, and then it's still got enough junk in the trunk to survive a clapback. Yeah. So
I think if you've got a 4-slot open and you're playing one Jafar, it's probably not this one, but yeah, it's still fine.
Also, it's what, a common or an uncommon versus the other one's a rare.
This is
So.
I mean, a lot of this talk we do here is not even accounting how much we're actually going to see of this stuff in the wild, right? Like, yes, most of the legendaries are probably spicy. You'll maybe open one of them, right? So, we don't kind of worry about that too much here.
And we can't like account for different formats, like Pauper, or as it is now going to be known, Porcana.
Porcana, is fantastic. Yeah. I love it. We Jetson went in with Flotsam, so we'll move on to a two-costed Inkable 2/2 for 1 Magic Broom with the ability to sweep. When you play this character, you may shuffle a card from the discard into its player's deck. So it's not as good as hand.
Yes, hand would be phenomenal. That'd be straight to spicy. I'm going with mid for this because outside of with the Mickey Sorcerer combo on its own, it's not a very good card.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't care about its ability yet. And I think that's the problem with this card is like you are purely putting this in as like a pseudo fire the cannons once you've got a Mickey online, right? Like it's literally just swinging to kill to do some damage to something and then go into your hand. His ability just doesn't interest me in the slightest.
Until Broom matters is at a point where it matters.
Brooms don't matter until they matter. You heard it here first.
Exactly.
A two-costed uninkable item, Magic Mirror. You can exert it, pay 4 to draw a card.
Trash.
Yeah, it's trash. It's way too expensive.
Like the only argument for it, which I've seen games that have gone this long and it's been impactful, is like you've got a super long game going and you've got a bunch of ink down and you're just top decking, and then it can give you that value. But there's Amethyst has control elements to where you could get into that situation. But for the most part, yeah, it's just too expensive. It's not inkable. If it was inkable, maybe I'd throw it up into mid. Like Beast Mirror. Beast Mirror is great.
Mm-hmm.
This one, because it's uninkable.
Yeah,
no.
I'm pretty sure I agree with you there. Pretty trash. One costed, uninkable, 1/1 for 2. Maleficent biding her time.
Mid, because she's got a place in certain places. Mm-hmm. She's uninkable, which is unfortunate. But she is a high value, low cost card in terms of lore. So she's a very aggro card, and in certain places that is quite valuable.
Yeah.
So in general,
I'd be tempted to push her up to strong, and the only reason is because you're right, she's uninkable. But honestly, unless I'm like top decking and really looking for an answer, I'll throw her down later in the game and just get 2 lore out of her before she gets killed, right? Like
that's fair.
You know what I mean? 2 lore for 1.
All right, fine. We'll give her a solid.
I've managed to talk him up. I'll take that.
She's got Maleficent just has so many good versions of herself, though.
She does.
Like, can't we at least say one of them's bad? Like, come on.
Maybe the weakest of them, but still just very good. You can tell that Ravensburger are a big fan, right? Like the first ever villainous was Maleficent on the box. There's obviously a. And again, it sounds calculated, but like the characters who are popular get more and good cards, right? Like it's just as simple as that. We're all sitting here talking about like randos that are really good, but for most people, they're just gonna be like, oh look, Maleficent, that's cool. 3 costed, inkable, 2/2 for 1. Maleficent Sorceress, cast my spell. When you play this character, you may draw a card.
Solid. Yeah, absolutely solid.
Very solid card. Anything that replaces itself is good in my book. Not really much to say about it. Just a solid card. 6 costed.
Well, I mean, there's the. I was gonna say there's the her plus friends on the other side combo, which is just great. Yeah. You throw her down, draw a card. Next turn, you sing friends. Like she's already gotten her value. She's only worth 1 lore. You don't care.
Yeah. She's almost pay 3, draw 3 cards over 2 turns. Really, is probably what you're doing with her. Yeah, I didn't think about it like that. It's really good. Lovely. 6 costed. Uninkable 5/5 for 1 Marshmallow. He has the ability Durable. When this character is banished in a challenge, you may return this card to your hand.
Trash.
Yeah, I think so as well. Obviously, this bouncing back to hand is an Amethyst thing, but I think outside of DrFacilier and a good setup with the Mickey and Brooms, I don't think it's there yet. What would make this better? Rush, I guess?
Yeah, Rush. I'd be down for Rush. Or just making it inkable. Like, it's uninkable. Its stats aren't great.
4 costed, inkable, 3/4 for 2 Mickey Mouse, Wayward Sorcerer. Pay 1 less for your brooms, and when they die, they go to your hand.
So I'm throwing him into spicy, one just because he opens up the broom matters, even though it doesn't really matter at the moment. But I have to give anything that is positive value, like just that stuff, because he's got the exact stats of a vanilla and a potentially very impactful ability.
Right.
So he's just above where he should be, and so he's good.
Like it's a build around. Like if you're playing him, you're having to play brooms. But yeah, and if we get a broomer set, that'd be pretty cool, right? He just keeps trickling up in even more value, right? I
mean, worst case scenario, he's a vanilla cost Maleficent.
And all that stuff as well. 1 costed, inkable, 1/3 for 1 Olaf.
It just freaked out, so I don't know what you said.
I was like, man, he's having to really concentrate on this one.
Olaf's good. I'm gonna give him a solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 1/3 stat line on the 1 cost is just really nice because it lets him survive. And from most others, and they can even take out like some of these high value 1-drops like the Lilos and the Maleficent Binding Your Times, and so
and stick around afterwards, right?
that's nice.
Yeah. Next up, then, one costed Inkable Action Song. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Put them back on your deck in any order. Reflection. I mean, way too strong. Instaban, right?
Trash.
Yeah, trash. I fought hard for this card when it was first revealed, and when I say I fought hard, I thought that it's not completely trash, but no. The more I'm actually playing around with decks and stuff, it is trash.
Yeah.
They don't nothing that I don't think anything that lets you look at your deck then lets you draw, does it? At the minute.
Well, I mean, there's some scry effects, yeah, like Isma. Or
Isma
develop your brain. Sorry, yeah, that's the only one that lets you draw and look.
But yeah, that's right. Develop is look and then take one. Yeah, Isma doesn't. Yeah, so nothing in Amethyst yet. Like it is a good ability, and maybe it's just that they want a bit of a runway up to it, so there's some design space for it. But as it stands, yes, Reflection is trash. 6 costed Inkable 5/7 for 1. Sven, a big old vanilla.
I mean, mid. He's just a big vanilla.
Yeah, sort of card that's like might well see play in the early OP scene, just because people haven't got much else. Like he is a good thing to ramp up into if you're playing anything like that.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he's nasty if you get him out in the starter deck tournaments.
Yeah, exactly. That's
hard
it.
to
Like
deal with.
a lot of people. Let's be honest. For the first month or so, probably people are going to be playing with like starter deck plus, right? So. It's for that reason he probably will see a bit of play, but yeah, he's mid at best. 5 costed Inkable 4/5 for 1. The Queen, you can exert as a draw card.
I don't know where to put her. Solid, I guess, just because consistent draw is good. I don't know, mid.
I don't think she's as good as a lot of people are talking about. Honestly, but
not excited about her.
No, I think people still need to get into the real mentality that exerting something is putting it into harm's way, and how much is that worth it for a draw a card? I mean, maybe there's like a Ruby Amethyst deck that exerts her and then and then readies her with with the fan the flames type stuff. But
yeah, I mean, like here's the way I look at it is, it's 4 cost, and then next turn you get to draw a card and then potentially deal an opposing character 4 damage and deny them at least 1 lore. And so like that denial aspect of them wanting to remove her because she does provide that consistent value is like, I think that is the best part about her that most people probably aren't considering. Like they just they just want the card. And it's like the card is nice, it's good, but it's your opponent investing something to get her off the table. That is valuable.
Yeah, she's almost like an emeraldy in that way. That's very much Emerald's thing, right? It's like I'm gonna keep questing. You deal with it, right? Like you're worrying about it. Whereas here she's not questing, she's just exerting for a card.
Yeah. And I know like you've got a big wargaming scene at your store, so I'm sure you're familiar with the distraction Carnifex. Like that's what I look at her as.
Yeah. Just that, just this is going to be over here doing its thing. Next up, 3 costed Inkable 3/4 for 1. The Wardrobe.
Mid.
Like I say, it takes a lot for a vanilla to go either way. Honestly, really, like it's that's mid's fair. 5 costed Inkable 3/3 for 2. Tinkerbell, Peter Pan's ally, Evasive, and your character's named Peter Pan gain Challenger 1. I'm genuinely not sure I've ever seen this card.
Yeah, it's currently I'm gonna give it a trash. Yeah, it's just expensive. It's uninkable. It doesn't have enough value with other Peter Pans.
There's not even a Peter Pan in this color.
No, there's not. The other 2 Peter Pans are in different colors, and there's just no real synergy here yet. So until there is,
but
trash.
I'm happy to go trash on that. 7 costed uninkable 2/8 for 3 lore. Ursula. It's too easy. When you play this character, each opponent loses a lore. You may draw a card for each lore lost this way.
In 1v1, trash. In multiplayer, spicy.
It's amazing how much of a difference it makes, right? Obviously,
Yes.
there are cards that get better in multiplayer. You know, Heroic Outlaw, anything with each opponent basically gets a bit better. But this is just not good in 1v1, really.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how much of a difference it makes. Assuming that Ursula is like the first narrative baddie, which, you know, with all the seaweed around and stuff, a lot of people are saying she is. Do you think this gives any credit to the idea that Ravensburger are really focusing on multiplayer a lot more than other games, perhaps?
I'm not sure if this made it into his direct video or not, but I know today in Discord, Eric posted a clip. He said it was an outtake. I don't know how much of it was an outtake because I don't remember. There are too many interviews this week.
Eric
from the
Eric
gamer.
From the gamer.
Eric from the gamer.
We're talking about.
And they were talking about Ryan was talking about the development of the game. And he talked about going through a bunch of different iterations of the game, and they would find something that they liked, but then they would just realize that it just didn't work in multiplayer, and so they scrapped it. And so that was a huge aspect of developing the game, was making sure that it was multiplayer friendly. So I think that's why we're seeing a lot of this, even in the first chapter.
Yeah, and it works as well. Like I've been playing, we've been doing 3-player starter deck stuff with the proxy starter decks at the store, and it's fine. Like it plays pretty well, really. No real different from 1v1. The only real shift has to be your mindset, because anything you're doing, you've got 2 people cracking back at you, but it's only the same difference between Magic, Magic's Commander and any other format, really. As far as the game goes, there's very little shift in how the game plays out, really. So it's good.
Yeah. And I'm normally not a multiplayer fan, but the reason that I enjoy Lorcana multiplayer is the fact that you're playing until one person wins, not 3 people lose.
Yes, yeah, very much so, yeah.
Yeah. It just makes the experience so much better.
Yeah, it's such a subtle difference, right? But it does make all the difference. Yeah. A 2-costed non-inkable item, Ursula's Cauldron. Peer into the depths, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one of them on the top and the other to the bottom. Yeah, so yeah.
There's a lot of debate on this card. I like it, so I'm going with solid. I think anything that gives you free deck fixing is a good thing. And then, it's uninkable, but it's cheap, and it can help you avoid other uninkables if it becomes a situation for you to deal with. So I think it's not much of a issue with this particular card. So it's just finding where you can lose that tempo of that 2 cost in order to play it down.
That's the only thing I have issue with it, really, is the slight tempo loss, and also the opportunity cost of running this in the deck over something else. But in the, just having it sat in your hand, you're gonna play this. It is uninkable, but like 2 of these on the table is still fine. Like you do the one, you have a look, you get rid of them. You do the other one, you're just getting to see a little bit further down each time. So I don't think it's awful. I think the only real thing holding this back is what else would you rather play for 2 lore, really. Lovely. 3-costed inkable item, White Rabbit's Pocket Watch. You can exert it and pay 1 to give something rush.
I'm gonna go with mid on this one because I don't think it's that super valuable outside of certain deck archetypes.
Yeah, I mean, I could possibly even take this down to trash personally. I don't think rush is strong enough to pump 4 mana on turn 4 into it.
Yeah. It's just Amethyst already has rush as an archetype within the color, and so it already has a lot of stuff in color. So you're not using this in colors. They're to support things like Aladdin's or the Simbas and the Tekas and Steel in order for them to pop out and gain you some sneaky lore while taking opponents' characters out and stuff like that. So I think there's a place for it, so that's why I'm at least giving it mid and not trash, and it's inkable, so I don't hate it. Oh yeah.
You've dragged me up. I had that as trash, but that's fine. I'll go with you there. 2 costed Inkable 2/2 for 1. Isma, when this character quests, you can look at the top card, put it on the top or the bottom.
I guess I gotta give it mid. You know, if I put Ursula's Cauldron, that's solid. She's got to at least be mid. The difference is it's a lot easier to get Isma off the board than it is the Cauldron, so you're probably only getting 1 use out of her. And she's got, villain synergy. So, yeah, we'll just go mid.
Yeah, I think the fact that you get the ability off her questing, it makes her slightly better than having the ability could have just been like exert this to look right. So at least you're getting the 1 lore out of her, which is mostly what you're getting off any of the vanillas at that rate. So
it's true.
It's slight better than that, but
and she was the first character that we ever saw with an on quest ability, so she gets a little bit. Well, I'll give her mid plus just for that little
mid plus.
Just for the history.
It's weird. It is weird, isn't it? You do hold some of them a little like more dear in your heart, just because it's like, oh, I remember when that was revealed, and we hadn't got a clue what we were talking about. I mean, some of us still don't.
Dragonfire is always going to be the best card because we went 3 months without hearing anything about the game, and then they just dropped Dragonfire on us. It's the first action we ever saw. It's the first card we saw after D23. Like, yeah.
It was kind of crazy, eh? There was somebody put a really great graph up today that somebody had done that was cards revealed over time, like cumulatively, and it just went, and then after 3 months it went. There's a little, and it was just Dragonfire popped it up a little, and then it did this over the last couple of weeks, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, it made me giggle. And then your last one is a 4-costed uninkable 0/4 for 2. Zeus, God of Lightning. He has Rush and Challenger 4.
I like Zeus. It's, you're kind of in a position where you're choosing between Rafiki and Zeus, and I think that it depends a lot on your, like, whether you need a spot for a 3-cost or a 4-cost, right?
Yeah, you kind of run one or the other, I think. Rush isn't winning you the game.
Yeah, but the fact that it's nice about him that he's got that little bit of extra, junk in the trunk, which means that, he can potentially survive things that Rafiki isn't. He can hit, up a little bit in terms of his cost, as well as he's got the 2 lore. And so it means that your opponent's going to want to challenge him. So I don't expect to get the 2 lore out of him, but I expect him to take a character out and to make something else challenge him so that...
Yeah. Just like you say,
my opponent is denied lore. So
denied lore that way, yeah.
It's a denial tool.
Fair.
And, going back to what we were talking about with Rafiki earlier, it's like, Rush, it's just one of those things that your opponent has to account for as soon as they see you playing Amethyst. And so it might change how they even do their plays just because they're scared of seeing a Rafiki or a Zeus.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. What did we say for Zeus? Mid, solid?
Oh, solid.
Solid. I could go with that.
Lovely.
So we had a few spices in there. Of all the spices, which card do you think is the super spiciest in Amethyst?
My heart wants to say DrFacilier because once again repping Nola, but I got to go with Elsa just because she's going to be... She's a build around card, and like we already talked about, she's going to be so expensive.
Yeah.
She's going to be so expensive.
It's not going to be fun to see that, I don't think. But yeah, she's a good card.
At the end of the day, if I'm popping a pack and I see Elsa or Facilier, I'm going to be more excited about the Elsa. Let's be excited.
Are you going to be more excited about her thinking, oh, I can't wait to play this? Or are you going to be more excited about her thinking, I can't wait to put this on at eBay?
A little bit of both. Is she foil or not? Is the question there.
Oh my god, if I open a foil one of her, it's going straight on eBay. I don't even care. Awesome. Where can people find more of you?
Yeah, awesome. So you can check us out on the Glimmer Gang podcast, on Spotify, and I don't know where else. And then YouTube, Twitter, and all the usual social medias, Glimmer Gang podcast. Check us out. We're going to be doing our own rundown series that I'm currently recording. That's actually going to come out after Gen Con, and we're going to be releasing them throughout the 2 weeks leading up to release.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for watching as well. Make sure you like and sub and all the YouTube stuff. Until the next one, be good.